For section 1.5, describe angle pair relationships. Again, more vocabulary that you're going to use throughout the course. I'd like you to do numbers 1 through 35 odd, and then 37 through 41 all. So a lot of this has to do with some vocabulary. So we're going to talk about a little bit of vocabulary. Even though this isn't necessarily my practice, I still keep good record of what I'm doing. This is my name, date, and the assignment. Adjacent angles. We already talked about that one. They're next to each other. And they actually share a common ray, a common side. So they share this common side. These angles are next to each other. You'll see eventually I get into the habit of just calling the angles number 1 and number 2, and then it's a lot easier to talk about them. Then I could say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 equals the measure of angle ABC. Sometimes it's just easier to refer to angles 1 and 2 instead of using all these letters. Complementary angles. Complementary. Add up to 90. They don't have to be adjacent, they just have to add up to 90. Definition of complementary. Supplementary. Add up to 180. And these are just 2 vocabulary words you need to get correct, like the difference between stop and yield when you're driving. You got to know the difference. Complementary and supplementary. Vocab words, learn them, know them. A linear pair. Now, a linear pair is more specific. They are adjacent, and they would add up. They do form a line. So, angle ABC and angle CBD. Again, the vertex is in the middle. You have to trace the angles. CBD, ABC are a linear pair. And what comes out of that is that we know they're supplementary. Some of these things I might be telling you ahead of time, I talked about not assuming, but when we see a line, that's the one place where I guess we can assume that we've got 180 degrees here. This is a line. There isn't some kind of kink right there. So you can make those assumptions. And then vertical angles. And notice how it's spelled, C-A-L, not C-L-E. So vertical angles. Vertical angles are formed when 2 lines intersect. So angles 1 and angle 2 are vertical, and angle 3 and angle 4 are vertical. So there's some vocab. All right, so let's see what you need to do here. Tell whether the indicated angles are adjacent. Is BAC adjacent to CAD? Is JNM adjacent to LNK? Name a pair of complementary angles and a pair of supplementary angles. So complementary have to add up to 90, and supplementary have to add up to 180. And they don't have to be in the same diagram. There's a pair of supplementary angles. There's a pair of complementary angles. Here it gets a little tricky. Obviously, these 2 angles add up to 90, so they're complementary. Supplementary, I would need like ROS and ROP, or POQ and QOS. If I tell you that angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary, given the measure of angle 1, find the measure of angle 2. So use good notation here. If the measure of angle 1 is 52, the measure of angle 2 is 38 degrees. Same idea here, they're supplementary. In this case, there is a 90-degree symbol here, so this is where I can assume this is a line. There isn't a kink. So if that's 90, that has to be 90. So 2x plus 3x has to equal 90. But again, once I solve for x, they're asking me find the measure of angle A, B, D. So once I solve for x, multiply it by 2, and the measure of angle ABD would equal whatever that is. Tell whether the angles are vertical, linear pair, or neither. Vertical, vertical. I don't see any other vertical angles. Linear pair, linear pair, linear pair, linear pair, linear pair, linear pair. That seems relatively straightforward. 1 through 35 odd, 37 through 41 all. Find the values of x and y. Well, again, this plus this has to add up to 190, 180. And then once you find x, you can use that to find y, because this plus this has to equal 180. Can use that all the way around. A and B are complementary. That means x plus x minus 30 equals 90. So just add them all up. X plus x minus 30 equals 90. X plus x is 2x. 2x minus 30 equals 90. Add 30 to both sides. 2x equals 120. X equals 60. There you go. Again, that's pretty much algebra 1. Hopefully you can do that. And A and B are supplementary, so same idea. X plus 3x equals 180. Go from there. 13x plus 10 plus 12x plus 20 equals 180. Simplify, solve. Then go back and plug in. In this case, I had a plain old x. Once I find x, you got to plug it back in to find the measures of angle A and the measures of angle B. And you have the answers, so check your answers to see if you're doing it correctly. And record your process.